where Malcolm was and where Farrakhan was here, who was here yesterday, is also from what we used to call the Berry. I met Malcolm when I was about 5 or 6 years old because he was a friend of my cousin, and I thought my cousin was the coolest cat in the world because he would receive these long distance calls from ladies as far away as New York. I thought he was so cool, but also that he and Malcolm belonged to a group that had these orange and black jackets, and on it was, long before Oakland, there was a Black Panther. And when Malcolm and he and my brother shared, he and my cousin rather, in Charlestown prison at the same time. So when I went to visit my cousin, I also ran into Malcolm's family there. And then we lost track, and I went to Harvard, and Malcolm came to Harvard, and after he was debating one of the more distinguished legal theorists, and after that debate, this particular theorist said to him, well, obviously, Mr. X, a man of your intelligence, can't believe the white people are the devils. And Malcolm said, if you're not the devil, prove it. So I went up to him after and mentioned my cousin's name, and then we were tight until he was assassinated years later. I think, of course, Malcolm is a hero, but his personality was such that people don't appreciate, I think, what a theoretician and analyst Malcolm was. In the same way that Karl Marx is the fundamental critic of capitalism and Franz Fanon is the fundamental critic of colonialism, Malcolm X is the fundamental critic of American racism. And when you read Malcolm, when he's talking about, he moved us past a kind of superfluous understanding of our condition, that our problem was not simply discrimination or prejudice. Our problem was racism, which is to say we were fighting a system. It is a system. And racism is the lifeblood of this country. It may change its face, but it never goes away. Right. So that what we need to follow Malcolm's example is what he did was study. I brought his brother Wilfred to campus, and we have Wilfred says something similar in Make It Plain. Now Malcolm usually slept only 4 hours a day, but he read everything. And I caught him once reading the National Review, which I don't know whether it still exists, a conservative magazine. And I said, as euphemistically as I could, reading that shit. And he said, because you never can tell where you come across a good idea. You never can tell where you come across a good idea. So that Malcolm was searching. When he was here in '63, he not only talked about the need for unity, the need for self-determination, he talked about the irrelevance of integration. We needed a revolution. He told us to look toward the experiences of the national liberation struggles abroad. And he was reading about Algeria, he was reading about Vietnam, which is what we need to do, because America is an empire. You understand? It is an empire. And all of its money that goes to maintaining the empire is money taken out of your pockets and subsist on your tax money. But you don't make enough. You don't make enough tax money to sustain the empire. So they must borrow. They must borrow. And so borrowing has now produced America, which you never hear on the media. America is now the greatest debtor nation in the history of the world. We owe $16 trillion. So the question about where Malcolm comes in, they do not want you to understand how the political system works or how the economic system works. And in order to understand it, you must dig for yourself. You must dig and put it together. What are credit default swaps? See, what are derivatives? The hedge funds are planning to come to Detroit, my dear. See? But the hedge funds, what they euphemistically and misleadingly call austerity, Detroit is not alone. This is a plan of the right wing. It's also an international plan. In Greece, in Spain, in England, which you never hear about what's really going on in England, and here. It is part of the right-wing plan, and the difference between them and us is that they never give up. Because, for example, they have been trying to overthrow Roe v. Wade for 40 years. We have nothing comparable where we are committed to change, where we, provide the analysis that's necessary and keep people together to confront the evil that this country represents. If Malcolm were here, I'm sure he would be asking us to do that. Because we are living, this is not just a casual, maybe we should do this and maybe we should. This is now, politics now becomes a matter of life and death. Because one, as I said yesterday, one can make the argument that feudalism is rational, to exploit the serfs. You can make the argument that slavery is rational. But what they are doing now, they have let loose forces they cannot control. Why is cancer a pandemic? Why is it? And why is Monsanto fighting against telling you that the foods are genetically modified? You don't know, it reminds me of the alien. You may be eating some corn and that thing and the alien jump out of your tum-tum. Europe at least said no, but now they're trying to get around Europe's prohibition against genetically modified foods. 25% of the reefs are now dead. If the reefs die, the sea will die. If the sea dies, we will all die. You have polar bears drowning. You have the Inuits, which we call Eskimos. Their whole way of life is being threatened. And as the Arctic melts away, are they trying to save the Inuits? No. They're up there now looking to drill more oil in the Arctic. So if Malcolm were here, I think he would repeat his saying, if they ain't the devil, they're the closest thing to it. So, hail and farewell. Ciao.
Good afternoon, everyone. I am very thankful to be here. Before I get started, I see